Assalamu alaikum. In the most holy name of Allah, the beneficent, the most merciful Savior, to whom all praise is due, the Lord of all the worlds, whom we are forever giving praise and thanks for raising up among us a divine leader, teacher, and spiritual guide, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Sisters and brothers, welcome again to Muhammad's Mosque of Islam number 27 here in Los Angeles. And what you have heard for the past few minutes has been very informative, very instructive, and has been a good job of acquainting you with the condition that our people are in and why we need such a man as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And tonight we want to get into one facet of what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has not only taught, but has developed as a characteristic or an attribute among the so-called Negroes here in America. The attribute that you and I never had before, and that is the attribute of love for each other, the attribute of brotherhood. Brotherhood in Islam as you find it in no other religion. We who follow the Honorable Elijah Muhammad are taught by him, and we act on everything that he teaches. We don't just go around mouthing his teaching and saying, well, he teaches us, and then let it go at that. But when we say the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us, this is to let you know the basis for the actions that you've already seen. Because if you look at us and see us doing something, you say, I wonder why they do that. Well, then when you hear the teaching and we say, well, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us such and such, we're explaining the actions that we take. We're not just espousing a doctrine and spouting it off because it sounds pretty or because it sounds controversial. But we're giving to you an explanation of why we are like we are, why we think like we think, and why we act like we act. It is because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that a Muslim is not a Muslim until he first loves for his brother that which he loves for himself. No teaching on earth is more beautiful than that. That's more beautiful than the golden rule. The golden rule says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That's not as beautiful as loving for your brother that which you love for yourself. Because the golden rule, you're kind of hoping what's in his heart would be the same as what you might have in your heart for him. But in Islam, there's no conditions. You love for your brother what you love for yourself, regardless of how he might feel about you. Now that's the most perfect love, is that right? A love that's not dependent even on reciprocation. A love that's not dependent on being loved, but just an unqualified love. Because we're the same flesh, we're the same blood. That's a beautiful love. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is backed up by the Bible. Backed up by the Bible, that loving your brother is an essential part of worshiping God. In 1 John, the first book of John, which is the old folks, when the white man first let them start learning how to read, they looked in this thing and they saw that straight line and they just looked at it, they'd been taught that was an I, so they called it I John. And so you find a lot of our people now call it I John. It's the 1 John, first chapter of John. And then right behind it is the first epistle rather of John. The second one's called the second epistle of John. But in this, 1 John or I John or whatever you want to call it, in the 4th chapter, the 20th verse says, if a man say, I love God, and hateth his brother, he is a liar. For he that loveth not his brother whom he hath seen, how can he love God whom he has not seen? And this commandment have we from him, that he who loveth God love his brother also. So the Bible backs up the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that you can't even love God unless you love your brother. So we thank Allah for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad being raised up among us to teach us what we needed so we could learn how to love God. We didn't know how to love God because we didn't know how to love our brothers. You may say, well, I was loving my brother. I didn't have no hate in my heart for nobody. I just loved everybody. I loved all my brothers. I loved my black brothers. I loved my red brothers. I loved my yellow brothers. I loved my white brothers. We say, there's your problem. There's your problem. You want to find out if a man loves his family, you have to find out if he knows how to restrict his love to his family. That shows his love for his family. If you say, well, I know that man loves his children because every time I see him, he's giving his little boy a lollipop. Then you see that man walking down the street, and here come a little boy he never saw before, and he give him a lollipop. Here come a little girl over here he never saw, he give him a lollipop. They say, well, how does that prove he loves his family? He gave those strangers the same thing he gave his family. You have to go back and find something else. You look, you say, well, he always smiles and pats his strange little boy walk up, you see him, pat him on the head. See a little girl he never saw before, he pat her on the head. You say, no, that don't prove no love, because he pats everybody on the head. He gives everybody lollipops. So now what evidence do you have that he loves his family? He don't even know his family if you say that his love for his family is shown by the pat on the head and the lollipop, because he gives that to everybody. This is what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has taught us. This is how he has taught us brotherhood. He has taught us that the brotherhood is exclusively for the brothers and the sisters. Do you understand? The brotherhood is for the family. Anybody not in the family, just not in the brotherhood. That's plain and simple. Anybody don't have our blood and our flesh, they're not in our family. There's nothing in the world wrong with that. And that's not hate. Your neighbors live next door to you. I don't care how well y'all get along, that's not your family. You can't adopt your neighbors. They're not your family. They're your neighbors. Don't care if you love them, they're still not your family. You just have to accept the fact that they're not. I don't care how tight y'all get. You can even get so tight that you can say, oh, my neighbors treat me better than my wife. That still, they're not your family. Let me ask you a question, sisters. If you're married, you ask your husband, say, baby, do you love me? And he tells you, well, I love all women. Would you accept that? You wouldn't take that, would you? That ain't no kind of answer to your question. You want to know, does he love you? You ain't worried about all the women. In fact, that would have you get hot right there. You'd have to get angry right there. But you mean you love all women? You say, what? I got exclusive rights. You can't be loving everything. I got exclusive rights. Isn't that what you were telling? All right then. Because you know that if his love is as free for every other woman as it is for you, then it has no value. That's just like, why are diamonds valuable? Because they keep them limited. Why are pearls valuable? Because everybody doesn't have them. Everybody can't afford them. Why is Rolls Royce more valuable than other cars? Everybody can't afford them. The less people that's got them, the more valuable it is. All right then. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us to make our love worth something, because we keep it among ourselves. It's our exclusive property. We don't love nobody but us. Now you know that's exclusive. Don't love nobody but our own family, our own kind, our own Asiatic nation. Nobody else. We don't even want to be around them. We don't even like to talk to them. We don't even like to see their shadow fall on the earth when the sun shines. Do you understand? Now that's exclusive love. We don't have no love for them. And because of this, they always accuse the Honorable Elijah Muhammad of teaching hate, because he teaches us to devote all our love exclusively to our own people. Now that's real love. Just think, when you can tell somebody, just like we mentioned a few minutes ago, if your wife is able to ask you, say, do you love me? And you say, yes. She say, well, do I have most of your love? And you say, baby, you got all my love. Every ounce of it. I don't have any for anybody else but you. You be happy, won't you? You got to be happy. Well, then think how happy we are today, since the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is making us like that toward each other. We don't have any love for anybody but each other. No black man or black woman supposed to get mad about that. You're supposed to be happy. All this love we've been pouring out at everybody but you, now it's yours and can't nobody get none but you. Well, you should be happy. Everybody loves exclusive rights on something. Here you got exclusive rights on your own people's love. We thank Allah for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because we didn't know our own family. We call ourselves going to love our brothers, and we were loving everything. Thought they were members of our family. No. Today, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is showing us who our family is. They're uniting us as a family. We have family unity. You may say, well, I don't know. I see you all having all kind of internal strife and squabbles and people coming and going and getting kicked out. All that's part of family unity. When you find that the family is united and they love each other and they respect the parents and love the parents, then anyone who does anything to hurt or to threaten the unity of the family, they disown that one. They get rid of him. They cast him off, because he's about to mess up the whole family. You don't love any one member of the family so much that it's to the detriment of the entire family. So when that one begins to threaten the unity and the harmony and the success of the family, you tell him, well, son, get your hat. That's what you have to tell him. Tell him, now me and mama been working here and we got a nice little happy family and so forth and so on, and you now got so grown and you gonna act other than yourself and you're going to cause lack of harmony in the house, you better go on out and get your house. Because we can't have you here. We're going to have peace here, with you or without you. Well, so there's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't mean that the family then is not united. It means it is united. Especially if they all agree that that one's got to go. And that they have more peace and harmony after that one's gone. That means then that the family is united. Nobody would be harsh on anyone for casting off those who disobey the rules and regulations of the house, who disobey the parents. Everybody thinks well of an obedient child. Nobody thinks well of a disobedient child. So if that disobedient child must be punished, if they don't punish him, the people think ill of the parents. What do they say about the parent? That parent ain't doing nothing for that child. He'll make her cry one day. Ain't that what they say? They can see that child only way wrong. They say he'll make her cry one day. But when they see him spanking that child and disciplining that child and being stern on that child, they may say she's awful hard on that child. But have you noticed he sure is obedient now? She sure takes care of business. And that father must be really backing her up, because you notice when she tells on him, he doesn't take sides with the child. That child just has to toe the line. Then you see family unity. Then if that child still errs, they kick him out. All right. Now, this is what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is making us realize we are. One family. One family of people. All of us. Regardless to how different we look, when we really look at ourselves, we all look alike. We look enough alike that we all could get through that door. And we got some restrictions. We got some restrictions and don't feel a thing about our restrictions. The white folks don't object to our restrictions either. They proved that. They just voted yes on 14. They go for the way we restrict. So we must look enough alike to be able to tell each other. So all right, then this bears witness that we are one family. Then let us live like one family. This is all the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is telling us. Once we recognize that we're a family, let us be like a family. Let us be a family no matter what disagreements they have. They can't break up, not really. You can't take the blood out of your veins and trade it in for some more. Now you can, rebel against the family and go on out and raise hell and be against the family, but you can't take the blood out of your veins. You'll never be at peace. You'll always think about your roots. You'll always think about the family you used to belong to. You can't get away from your family. You can't get away from your bloodline. Somebody will always be looking at you, hey, ain't you Mr. So-and-so's boy? And you be so mad because you don't even want to be reminded that you was ever with Mr. So-and-so in his house. But you can't help it because you bear all the marks of Mr. So-and-so's boy, or else they remember you when you were little. So yeah, I used to come to your house and I remember you. Say, you and your father used to really have fun. What happened? Then you don't want to tell. You told it 50 times. You don't want to tell it. Plus you shame and you wish you could go back home. So you hate to be telling the strangers. I mean, all of that. But you can't take the blood out of your veins. Well, this is the way that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has made us to realize that we are just one family. Those who hear the teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who reject it, they can't take the blood. They're still our family. Those who hear and pretend to accept, and then for one reason or another, turn their back and go astray, they still can't get the blood out of their veins and they can't get the Islam out of their head. That's why so many of them go crazy. Drives them crazy. They got the truth in their head and they're working iniquity with their hands. That'll drive you crazy so fast, it's a shame. You can stay halfway sane doing wrong, thinking wrong is right. But once you know right, well, your brain won't take knowing right and doing wrong. Just won't take it. And you don't see yourself going crazy. But everybody around you start noticing you say, he sure acts off now. That's right. A lot of times, and this has hurt us because a lot of times they think that that's because you heard the teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. They'll say, the Muslims, what they teaching him drove him crazy. No, it's what he did after he got what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was teaching. That's what drove him crazy. Those that are following the Honorable Elijah Muhammad aren't crazy. Those who stray away go crazy. Well, then that shows you it's not what he's teaching. It's when they don't get what he's teaching. It's just like if somebody is sitting up at a table every day at dinner time, they're just getting fatter and fatter and fatter. Then they get mad at the cook, and they walk away and don't eat nothing for a month. And you see them looking skinny and poor and sick. You can't say, wonder what they fed them at that table. Whatever they fed them at that table sure didn't mess them up. That ain't what messed them up. They were straight when they was at the table. What messed them up was when they let their pride make them get up and walk away from the table. All praise is due to Allah. Many of our people come in and for one reason or another fall back. We want to do what we can to stop that. One of the things, as we mentioned, there are those who will pretend to accept Islam for one thing or another. And when they come in and don't get what they came in after, they'll fall out. Then there are those who accept Islam in all honesty and in all sincerity, and then are preyed upon by some vulture that's sitting there, that's in Islam for some reason other than righteousness. And when they are preyed upon and they are hurt by this person, then they begin to think that that's the policy of the mosque, or that reflects on the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. This is not so. If they would check, if they would do what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is teaching them constantly to do, that if you're in doubt, ask questions. You have every right in the world to question. If there's any doubt in your mind about anything, you have but to get to the proper official, any official in the mosque, and ask them a question. If they can't answer it, when they get through with you, you'll be at the right person that can answer it. There's no sweat on that, so that you won't be preyed upon by those that we have seen in the history of the mosque. We have seen those who have come in and who have looked around and counted noses and thought this is a good enterprise, not a good religion to get in, not a good brotherhood, not a good nation, but this is a good enterprise because look at all of the people that I can prey upon. And you'll find them that will come in and will be sitting right in here. But we say this to you. If you didn't get conned on the streets, don't come in here and jump square. If you were so hip on the corner, don't come in here and let somebody take you. Before you make a move, especially regarding your finances, consult with one of the officials in the mosque. We don't deny that there are predatory people who can't help but come in here and lick their chops. With the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaching that we should love one another, should support one another, should do what we can to make one another successful. You know that somebody who's got on their mind nothing but making a quick buck is going to listen to that and going to try to take advantage of that. You know that. It's your responsibility to be intelligent enough. You've grown and been living in this world long enough. You should know better than to think that there's nobody going to try to take advantage of that. But you should also have sense enough to know that if you didn't tell anybody because you were going to sneak and make you a quick killing, when you get ruined, don't blame those that you didn't tell. Because if you told them in front, they'd have told you no, but you'd have said they just don't want me to make no money. All right, let's understand. Yes, you may hear many who will come here, some who stay and some who go right away, but who always will slide up to you with that old go for self. They misunderstood. The messenger says go for self, he means go for self and kind. They took that to mean go for their own individual self. So that they think it's legal and it's right and it's moral for them to milk anybody as long as they're making it for themselves. Sure, you're going to run into them. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad hasn't established heaven in North America. He has established the foundation of heaven. Now, somebody built a foundation to a building, what you look like moving in? First time it rains, you expect it to keep you dry? No, ain't nothing there but the foundation. You got to wait till the walls get up so the roof can get put on. All praise is due to Allah. Nobody is supposed to be able to pimp off of you in Islam. Nobody is supposed to be able to con you in Islam. Nobody is supposed to come up to you and try to get you, some lazy person who doesn't have initiative enough to do for themselves is supposed to lay up on you or eat off of you or constantly be hanging on you and draining off crumbs of what you got by telling you, you know you're supposed to love for your brother that which you love for yourself. Why, you're supposed to tell him you're supposed to love for your brother what you love for yourself. And just like you wouldn't want me hanging on you, you shouldn't be hanging on me. You wouldn't want me leeching off of you, don't you be leeching off of me. Use your own sense, and if you don't have it, and this is no insult, because none of us have any sense till the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught it. If you don't have it yet, then listen to this from the Holy Quran, which is the very word of Allah from the mouth of Allah. He talks about people like that. He said, they presume to lay thee under an obligation by becoming Muslims. And here you're already a Muslim. You're a Muslim, you're submitting to Allah, or either you're coming in, you're becoming a Muslim. You already said you believe in Allah and His Messenger, you want to be a Muslim. Now here's somebody that because of your religion, they're going to pray on you. They're going to lay an obligation on you because we're brothers. I mean, you got to do this for me because we're brothers. I mean, all praises due to Allah, brother. I mean, assalamu alaikum, brother. I mean, we're brothers. I mean, you can't refuse a brother, brother. You may say, what's all this? That sounds kind of negative. What's all this got to do with brotherhood? That's part of brotherhood, warning you before you fall in a trap. That's what your brother does. Your brother don't let you break your neck. Your brother tell you before you walk into a trap. He don't care if the trap setter's supposed to be his brother too or not. Because if he was a true brother, he wouldn't set that trap. So when you start talking about don't walk on that path because you might fall on might get your leg in a trap, all you got to do is look and see who get mad. You know who the trap setter is. They presume. Look, Allah even tells you how to answer them. When they come up to you with that old stuff, they're going to lay you under obligation because of your religion. They presume to lay thee under an obligation by becoming Muslims. He's telling you, say this. Lay me not under an obligation by your Islam, Rather, Allah lays you under an obligation by guiding you to the faith if you're truthful. Don't tell me about my obligation because I'm a Muslim. If you're a Muslim, what about your obligation? Don't tell me that I'm supposed to do for you because I'm a Muslim and you're a Muslim. You're a Muslim, what are you supposed to do? Don't let anybody just be trying to tell you, well, you got to do this because you're a Muslim and you got to help me this way. No, that's not the way it is. Nobody has that right to be telling you that. They should be trying to find out what should they do. What obligation has Allah put on them? Because as a Muslim, they got obligation. As a Muslim, every one of us has obligation. And every one of us has a full-time job just trying to live up to our obligation. And except for those of us who have the job, those of us who have the responsibility for directing the Muslims to their obligations, no one else has the right to be telling you your obligation. They should be telling themselves their obligation. Usually, as the Holy Quran shows plainly, it's a trick. They presume to lay you under obligation. They got a purpose in mind. They don't do it accidentally. They got a purpose in mind. They can get you under obligation. They'll wind up with what you got for them. No, they twist what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said. He says that a Muslim is not a Muslim until he first loves for his brother that which he loves for himself. He didn't say until he loves for himself that which he sees his brother with. He didn't say it like that. And this is the way that it is too often misinterpreted. So beware of that. And as your brother and in teaching brotherhood tonight, I want to warn you of that. Don't let anybody twist the messenger's teaching to the point where they themselves are showing that they love for themselves what their brother got. No, they love for their brother that which they love for themselves. All you have to do is just watch it, and you'll see. They love certain things for themselves. They love it for their brother. They show it because they're interested in their brother getting it. They're not predatory and sitting around watching to see what their brother get to see what they can snatch. All praise is due to Allah. Many people question the loyalty of the Muslims to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. They question the love, the obedience that we have to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The white man uses this in his press quite a bit. He talks about how all Muhammad has to do is snap his fingers and he can get the Muslims to move. They're the best disciplined group of so-called Negroes in America. Why is this? You can't condemn him for it. You have to take your hat off to him for it. You won't condemn a child because he's loyal to his parents. You say he's doing what he's supposed to do. You don't condemn a child because he's obedient to his parents. You say he's doing what he's supposed to do. Why? Because you say that parent gave life to you. You owe that parent obedience, love, and respect. Isn't that what they say? One of the things that they'll say right away if you disrespect your mother is, she birthed you in the world. What are they saying? That you really got to go something. She's got to do a whole lot before you can disrespect her because she's the one that brought you into the world. Well, that means that person that gave you life, you got to have the utmost of love and loyalty and respect for that person. Well, this is the way that we feel about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We know that he has given us life. This is what the Bible means when it says that you must be born again. We are being born again. We who are today being taught Islam in North America by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad are being born again. Allah, the God of the universe, the sender of our leader, the teacher of our teacher, the leader of our leader, the one who missioned Messenger Muhammad, Allah himself came to North America in the person of Master Farad Muhammad and impregnated the Honorable Elijah Muhammad with the truth that would set us free. Just as a man impregnates a woman, he impregnated him with this truth. And with this truth, just as a mother then nourishes the seed of the father, so the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has nourished this seed of truth. And just as this then will cause the embryo to grow, so the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has caused the nation of Islam to grow as this truth spread. Just like a mother, he has nurtured this seed with giving of his own life, giving of his own vitality, just like a mother does. He has nourished and nurtured this seed and caused it to grow and grow and grow until the day we stand to be delivered. So with Allah as our father and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad as our mother, then with the same parents, that automatically makes us brothers and sisters. All praise is due to Allah. We are following the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We know him, we love him, and we are growing. We're happy with our more success, and none of us ever say, well, I'll be better off if I ever see Allah. If I could just see Allah one time. None of us ever say that. What does this imply? Does this imply then that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is taking the place of Allah? Does it imply that we don't care about God? Does it imply that we have begun to worship the Honorable Elijah Muhammad? No. That father leaves his permanent mark on that offspring. But until that child is delivered, that child knows nothing about that father. From the moment of conception until the moment of delivery, that child doesn't even have an opportunity to come in contact with that father. He doesn't know anything. All he knows is the mother. That's all he knows. Everything that goes into his body comes from the mother. He don't have no knowledge. When that mother eats, say for instance, if that mother drinks plenty of milk and puts plenty of calcium in the baby so his bones will develop strong and his teeth will develop strong, the baby benefits from this. He got it directly from mother. He doesn't have any knowledge of the fact that daddy went out on a job and earned the money, or either went out to the barn and milked the cow. He don't know nothing about that until he is born and mother begins to tell him that. Mother is the one that lets him know what father did. But he don't know nothing about father except what mother told him. But he believes mother because of the way mother takes care of him, because of the benefits he's gotten from mother, because of the love mother shows him. He knows mother is not going to tell him wrong. So when mother starts telling him about father, he takes mother's word about father because he knows that mother is not going to tell him wrong. This is the way we are with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. This nation of Islam, conceived in North America by Allah, is taking shape, and as it takes shape more and more, it's taking on the contours of a nation. But yet it was originally established as a nation. From the raising up of the first begotten of the dead, from the teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad himself, a nation was established here in North America. A nation within a nation. But nobody saw it as a nation. Would you believe if somebody showed you one man walking down the street and told you, now there goes a nation? You wouldn't believe it. Why? He looks just like any other man. He could be a nation or not be a nation. He looks just like any other man. But then gradually he began to get more followers. The system changed. The routine changed. He got more followers. The system changed. The organization changed. The structure changed. He got more followers and more changes until today, for the first time, most of our people can see a national structure. For the first time. Well, there's nothing unusual about this. This spiritual birth, this rebirth that we're going through has the same earmark as a physical birth. When a child is conceived, in the early stages of its growth, it looks like anything else. You can go into one of these colleges in the biology lab, and you can look up in those bottles, and they'll have the fetus of a man, the fetus of a dog, the fetus of a cow, fetus of a fowl, the fetus of a fish, all of them strung out there. And at one stage, you can't tell one from the other. They all look alike. But in each one of them, there are characteristics planted so that when they reach a certain stage, they'll each grow their separate way. It's already in them. It was in them when they were conceived. But you couldn't see it, and I couldn't see it. But the one who created them saw it. When he put it in them, he knew what height he was putting in them. He knew what intelligence level he was putting in them. He knew what coloration he was putting in them. He knew all of these things that was going into them when they were so small we couldn't even see them with the naked eye. So to us, when we look through a microscope, it looked insignificant, just another dot on the slide. But the Creator knew everything that was in it. And the mother always has a knowledge, somewhat, of what the child is going to look like. It doesn't make any difference if nobody has seen the father but her. She knows what the child will be like because she knows the father. And if you don't know the father, you have to guess. You know the child is going to look something like her, but you don't know what else it's going to take because you don't know the father. So you may, when the child is born, you may say, well, where did the child get those ears from? From the father. But the mother knew that the child might have those kind of ears because the mother knew the father. Say, well, what makes the child, why is the child's intelligence level at this level? And the mother just smiled. Say, you don't know, do you? But she knew before the baby was born some of the things that baby had to be capable of because she knew the father. This is why we're shocked. We're surprised to the whole world. These people known in America as the black Muslims. We're shocked to the world. They can't figure us out. They don't understand why we got certain qualities and why this is in us and why that's in us. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad just my people. All praise is due to Allah. And he doesn't know what's in just some of us. He knows what's in all of us. Because we're all from the same seed. We're from the same father. And we're being nurtured by the same mother. The closest you can get, closest brothers and sisters can get, is when they're born together. Is that right or wrong? If two of them are born at the same time, they're twins. Closest ones are what they call like. So the white man hates what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is saying, and hates the Honorable Elijah Muhammad for saying it, and hates you and me for believing. On saying it. And he's gathering more and more followers. Every day, more black people wake up and join the growing ranks of black people who are following the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Because a black person today that's still following white folk, he's a sleepwalker. He's what they call a somnambulist. He's walking and don't know where he's going because he's asleep. Doesn't know who's in front of him because he's asleep. That's why you find most of our people following white folks don't even know they're following white folks. They tell you, I'm not following no white folks. No, you got to do is just bring it right down to them and show them, and they have to admit that they're following white folks. Whoever they're following is following white folk. Consequently, they're following white folk. If you got a single file line of people, and here you got a black man directly in front of you, and another black man in front of him, and another one in front of him, but at the head of the line is a white man. What do you look like saying, I'm not following white folk, I'm following black folk? Oh, you following white folk. Ain't no black folks saying when they make the turn and when they don't. It's that white man at the head that's calling all the turns. And all of the black people that you're supposed to be following is doing is just following them. So the only way you can follow black is that all the way up as far as the line goes, ain't nothing but black. I mean all the way. If you're going to follow black, it's no good unless you follow black all the way. All praises due to Allah. This is why the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is the only true black leader in America. He's not following white folks. White folks don't dictate to him, they don't advise him, they don't even suggest to him. Far as you look, all you see is black. Not only can't you be a leader in Muhammad's mosque and be anything other than black, you can't even be a follower and be anything other than black. Now you know that's going to stop all of the white leadership if you can't even have any white followership. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad is able to do this great work because he has the backing of Almighty God. He doesn't have any arms and ammunition. This is not why he's able to talk the way he talks. He doesn't, in fact, none of his followers carry arms. None of them. One of the things that is ironic about the fact that they're always accusing us of seeking violence is that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad stops us from carrying all the arms of violence we used to carry when they said we were peaceful. When they said we weren't violent. When they said, oh, now he's a good Baptist. He's not thinking about none of that old hate and violence like Muhammad's talking about. And you got a 45 stuck all up in your coat. Well, what you looking for if you're not looking for violence? Yet you become a Muslim, you take that 45 and dump it out in the ocean somewhere, cleanse it, you take that penknife and throw it away, you get rid of everything that's a weapon, and walk the streets with nothing but your hands and hear the man say you're violent. Why does he say you're violent? He says you're violent because now you're serving God. Now you're worshiping God. Now you're following the messenger of God. And he knows that whenever you and I begin to follow the man of God and to worship God, he knows he's in a world of trouble. He knows that violence is coming to him. But he knows that he's not going to get any violence from us going to war with him. He knows we're not going to be coming out there with no, as long as we're carrying knives, he knows we're not going to attack him with any knives. As long as we're carrying guns, he knows we're not going to attack him with any guns. But he knows that when we begin to call on our God already has the weapons to attack him with. He knows that our God can stop his crops from sprouting out of the ground.
He knows that our God can cause the earth to open up and swallow him in his sleep. He knows that our God can shake him down off the mountains he lives in, and if he lives in the valleys, our God can wash the mountains down on top of it. He knows this. And he knows that the only reason that our God has not been doing so much of it in the past is because he would have gotten us right along with them. But the more we wake up and get with our God, the more we give God a chance to get at our enemy. It's a very simple thing. It's a very simple thing. If your brother, you trying to get at somebody, say if your brother is fighting somebody, and they're wrestling around, and you got a gun in your hand, you want to shoot your brother's enemy. It's hard to shoot him if they're all hugged up and wrestling, or if they're hugged up. If the enemy look up and see that you about to shoot him, knows you know him, he just might reach out and grab the brother and say, oh, let's be friends. And just be hugging him. Well, you can't shoot, you might hit your brother. But if your brother then begins to wake up and say, no, you're a hypocrite, you're not my friend, you don't really have any love for me, what made you all of a sudden decide that you were going to hug me? And then he gets to looking around, he look over there and he see his brother with the gun, he say, oh, so that's why you so loving. No, get on away. Well, when he pushes him away, what does that do? Gives you a clear shot at it. Is that right or wrong? All right. So the white man knows this. He knows that God wants a clear shot at him today. And the only thing that keeps God from getting at him is this Negro all entangled up with him. God's not angry with the Negro. God's not putting mudslides on Negroes. God's not making hurricanes sweep Negroes' homes into the ocean. God is not doing these things to Negroes. He's doing it to white folks. The white man understands this. We don't have to rant and rave and rejoice about it. The white man understands this. He knows that this is what is happening. So consequently, since God is not mad with us, then we would be foolish to try and defend or stand with the man God is mad at. You can't go to war with God and win. You can't stand up against God and be successful. Since you know that you can't beat him, ain't nothing to do but join him. This is the intelligence that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad puts in us. We don't see this before. Before, we think that the most intelligent thing we can do is be with white folks. Regardless, they've been making it somehow all this time. Yeah, but you ever heard that old thing about you can carry the jug to the well once too often? Yeah, you carried it all other times and brought back water, but you carried it one time and the jug break. Well, you just went to the well once too often with the same old jug. Well, this is the situation that the white man is in today. He's gone to the well once too often with the jug. He's been beating everybody. He's been on top of everybody, been dominating everybody, robbing and spoiling everybody and everything in his path. Today you see him crumbling. You may not see him crumbling because he got you so blinded, he think that just because he's making more cars this year than he made last year, that instead of going down, he's going up. But you notice that over in the lands the black lands he used to rule, he's losing his rule. Losing his rule. Coming out of there. Have to come back home and try to get a job. Come back home and try to found a business. Come back home and survive. Because the black folks are putting him out of Africa and Asia. He's going down. Can't make it without all that. We saw 2 articles the other day in 2 different magazines that showed how the white man of America is suffering today because of just 2 commodities that come off of one little island, the island of Cuba. That's the tobacco that they make their cigars with, the Havana cigars, and the sugar that all of us use. This is why all of those sugar-free things are coming out. Not because everybody's fat, but because they got a shortage of sugar. And they're trying to get everybody's taste attuned to this stuff because they know that pretty soon they won't be able to get too much sugar from the outside, and they know prophecy and know history well enough to know that's the exact time God would pick to start ruining all of Mr. Speckle's sugar beets up here in the San Joaquin Valley so that they can't get it from outside and can't produce it inside. The white man knows this. He understands prophecy this well. He understands prophecy well enough to recognize the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The last people to recognize this man of God is the so-called Negro. The black people, the Muslims from all over the earth recognize him as the messenger of Allah. The white people in Europe and in America today recognize him as the messenger of Allah. And the very people that he was raised up for, raised up from among, and missioned to save are the last ones to really find out and believe that this is the messenger from God that we've waited for the past 2,000 years. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad is the man that, as the Bible said, Jesus said 2,000 years ago when the people were trying to worship Moses, said that you read the scriptures and you think that in them you have eternal salvation, and they are they which prophesy of me. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says the same thing today to those who want to worship Jesus, just as those who Jesus was trying to talk to were trying to worship the prophet Moses, who had been dead 2,000 years ago. So today, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is having the same problem, trying to talk to our people who are worshiping the prophet Jesus, who died 2,000 years ago. And he says the same thing to them today that Jesus said to Moses' followers 2,000 years ago, said, you search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, but they are they which prophesy of me. And we who follow him bear witness that the scriptures that you have right in your book, right in your Bible, bear witness and prophesy of the honorable Elijah Muhammad. From Adam to Elijah, from Adam in the book of Genesis to Elijah in the book of Malachi, the whole Old Testament is about the works and the mission of the honorable Elijah Muhammad. From Matthew, from Jesus in the book of Matthew to the Lamb in the book of Revelation, the whole of the New Testament is talking about the honorable Elijah Muhammad. In the first place, the very fact that we today can see the book, today we can understand the Bible for the first time and not have to read two sentences and understand half of one and accept the other one and a half on blind faith. The fact that we are today able to go into it and dig and understand, to prod and probe and try and find the meaning. And if we can't find the meaning, we can get the meaning. This means that there is a prophecy in the Bible that shows us exactly what time it is, exactly whom we should be looking for. In the book of Revelation, when it speaks about this lamb that all of the Christians have said represented Jesus. It said that this lamb was found among beasts. Not among his own, but among beasts. But it said that although he was found among beasts and was torn and looked as if he had been slain, and his blood mixed with the blood of the beast, as bad shape as he was in, he was able to do a job that they had searched all over the earth and all through heaven, trying to find a man qualified to do. They couldn't find one. The 24 elders were sitting around the throne of God, and not one of them was worthy to do this job. The angels were singing his praises, and not one of them was able to do this job. But a little lamb that had been ripped and torn by his enemy, that had been enslaved and grown up a slave to his enemy, and that was still surrounded and in the power of his enemy, was able to stand up and say, here am I, O Lord, send me. Said that God sat on the throne with a book that was sealed, as the Bible says in the book of Daniel, that he was instructed. And when God revealed to him the things that would happen at the end of time, he was instructed to seal them up until that time came. Seal them up until the last days, until the end of time, and then they would be broken. So God was sitting here with the book, still sealed up, because there was a time for it to be opened. The end of the time of the rule of the wicked and the time for the establishment of God's kingdom had arrived. But before it could be done, the book had to be opened and the understanding had to be given to the world. So God sat on the throne with the book, waiting for the man that was qualified to break the seal on the book and give the understanding to the world. And nobody in heaven could do it. None of the angels could do it. You and I said that Jesus had been sitting on the right hand of his Father for all those years, and he didn't turn to Jesus and say, open the book. There was nobody there that could open the seal on the book. But this little old lamb that hadn't even been noticed, they overlooked him because it said they searched the heavens and the earth. So they overlooked him. They didn't even consider him. It never entered their minds that he was even qualified to be considered as a possibility that he might be able to break the seal on the book. That's how insignificant this little lamb was. Yet the little lamb walked up and took the book out of God's hand and broke the seals on the book just like that. All praise is due to our Lord. You and I have been following this book with the seals still sealed. We didn't have any understanding of the book until the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the little lamb without spot or blemish, who is the grandson of a slave, born and raised as a free slave here in America, raised in the cotton fields of Georgia, who worked on the railroads and was in the bread lines during the Depression of the 30s, who didn't go beyond the 3rd grade in school. Yet today he is confounding the wisest of the wise. He makes scientists revamp their scientific theories. He's making authors rewrite their textbooks because he has broken the seal on the book of Scripture. He's given us an understanding of the book that nobody can refute. There's not a theologian on earth from the Pope on down that can argue against what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says is in that book. And now today you can hear that more and more of those theologians are beginning to waver and are beginning to reinterpret their interpretation of the Bible. They've gotten up off a whole lot of old stuff they used to give us, and they're beginning to talk a little bit more truth now. They're beginning to be a little bit more realistic now. They're beginning to admit to errors, whereas before they always taught you and me, you just got to accept every word in it. How are you going to accept every word in it? The man had made us such fools that we couldn't see that there were words in it contradicting other words. You can't accept every word in it. You got to accept the truth in it, and you got to reject the lies that the enemy of God has put in the book ever since he's been tampering with the book. How's the enemy of God going to have the book and going to let it stay like it is when he condemns him so bad? No, he got to try to work with it. He's got to try to mess with it to try to hide himself. So all that's in the book, all that's in the Bible didn't come from God. Do you think this passage, for instance, came from God? We know that any, the winos would use this. Whether they be, street winos or those winos that serve wine in their religious services. Same thing. A short dog is a short dog. I don't care where you drink it. But can you imagine? Be truthful with yourself. Can you imagine God giving an instruction like this? Drink no more water, but take a little wine for thy stomach's sake. That's what the Bible says God said. Can you imagine God telling you just give up water and drink nothing but wine? When in another spot in the book it says a drunkard shall not enter the kingdom of heaven. If you drink wine instead of water, how are you going to keep your head straight? No way in the world for you to drink wine all the time and not be drunk. Now why would God tell you to do something he know would keep you out of heaven? You believe every word in it? No. All of the wise scholars of the Bible are today admitting to error. They're revising it again. They're making new changes. But in making their changes, they're still trying to keep you and me enslaved. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has been given the true meaning and the true understanding of the book by God. And because of this, you and I can today get the right understanding. Once we get that understanding, you can match it with anything else that you've been taught that those things might have meant. Then see how much sense they make. Just see which one makes the most sense. We don't ask you to swallow anything whole, soul and body and all that stuff. No. Take it and weigh it. What the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is teaching can stand up against anything. Take it and weigh it and examine it for yourself. Use logic. As the Bible says, prove all things. Hold fast to that which is good. Let's see. We made a statement that from Adam to Elijah in the Old Testament and from Jesus to the Lamb in the New Testament, everything in there is about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Let's see if we can back it up. After the Lamb has opened up, broke the seal on the book, let us go into the book and see if we can back up who the Lamb is. We look at Jesus. We see the works of Jesus. The majority of the works of Jesus that are told of in the New Testament was not done by Jesus 2,000 years ago, but was the prophecy of a future Jesus. In fact, there are 4 different Jesuses that are represented there in the New Testament. Jesus of 2,000 years ago, his works, some of his works are told in there. Our long-awaited Jesus, God in person, the Son of Man, who was prophesied to come in the last days and has come in these last days, in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, the Mahdi of the Muslims, the Messiah of the Christians. That Jesus is represented under the name Jesus in the book. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad is referred to in many places in the book as Jesus. And the so-called Negro, as a group, 22 million of us are referred to in the book as Jesus. But we want to deal with just one Jesus today. We want to deal with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. What do we have to back up that represents him? Well, let's take just the birth of Jesus. We're not going to go into the death because that proves that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is the man that it's talking about. And most of the works, the miracles performed, prove that it's a prophetic picture of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But today, because our time is short and we have many of these proofs we want to run through, we just want to deal with one phase of Jesus' life, the birth of Jesus, the miraculous birth of Jesus. According to the Bible, Jesus was born without the agency of a man. There was no man that had touched the woman that produced Jesus. But God himself was the one who had impregnated her with this divine child, and this divine child was born to do a special work. Now, we hope that you'll just stick with us for 10 minutes. Don't jump up and run out the door. Yes, sir. No woman has ever had a baby without the agency of a man. Every woman knows this. Every man knows this. You don't believe every man knows this, you come up with one when he's not around and claim that the Holy Ghost got it. He doesn't have to be a scholar. He doesn't have to be a PhD. He cannot have ever seen the inside of a schoolroom or a picture of a schoolhouse. He can have spent all of his life just out there husking corn, shucking corn, and chopping cotton and all this other stuff. He could have spent all his life just doing that, never even been out on the main road. But you let him go out hunting, get snowbound or something, and have to stay out there and get lost for a couple of years, and come back home, sister, and find you sitting there about 5 months pregnant. And you tell him, well, I haven't seen a man since you've been gone. It's just that the Holy Ghost overshadowed me. You haven't seen no overshadowing yet. The Holy Ghost would be overshadowing and he'd get the shadow boxing. No, our own intelligence. This is what I'm saying. Your nature tells you that that's a lie. You don't have to go into any theoretical treatises and write any long way out. All you have to do is just let your nature take its course. Somebody tell you that right away, you reject it. They pound it in your head for years and years, from the Sunday school to the church itself, and still, if it happens to you, you go to war. But I show you right there, your nature never can accept that. But it does have a meaning. It is important to you and me to know of a virgin giving birth to a child, as it was prophesied in the Old Testament, as it was prophesied in Isaiah, that a virgin would give birth to a child. It was prophesied, but it was not talking about a woman, one physical life and blood and flesh woman who had never had any contact with a man was going to give birth, a physical birth, to a man child, a boy, a baby, flesh and blood. She couldn't do it. Jesus himself, who was supposed to have been that child produced, himself pointed this out. He said, he who is born of flesh is flesh. He who is born of spirit is spirit. If Jesus was born of flesh, if he was flesh, he was born of flesh. If his father was a spirit, he would have been a spirit. If his father was flesh, he was flesh. And there was no spirit that they were supposed to have been driving nails through on the cross. Is that right or wrong? So understand, Jesus condemned that story. Literally. But what does it mean symbolically? You and I today, just to be as swift as possible, you and I today, the so-called Negro in America, have been stripped of all knowledge of self. We have been living in total darkness and ignorance to the knowledge of self. We've been enslaved by a man so shrewd until he's made us enjoy our slavery. He's made us think that we couldn't do any better anywhere else, and that we got no future except with him. We have been stripped completely of our manhood. Totally. We've never known a man. Everybody that has supposed to have been a leader of us has never been a man. A man is known by his manhood, and his manhood makes him self-sufficient. A man is always thinking about doing for himself. I don't care how old you are, that don't make you a man. You find some men 35 and 40 years old who are staying with their mothers, staying with their fathers, and being supported. That's not a man. That's a male. M-A-L-E does not spell man. He's of the male gender, the male sex, but he is not a man. Man has other qualifications. A boy can be 13 years old, and he can show more manhood than that other man that we just mentioned. His manhood makes him want to be self-sufficient. You ever seen those boys that get restless when they get 13 or 14? They want to do for themselves. They want to get a job. They want to have their own money. They want to earn for them. They don't like for daddy to go downtown and come back and say, I bought you a suit. They like to go downtown themselves and pick their own. They might pick the same suit daddy picked, but they just want to be able to say, I got this myself. What makes them like that? That's their manhood coming up. Comes out earlier in some than it does in others. But until it comes out, you're not a man. Well, we who are here in America today have never known a man among us. Every man that has come up as a so-called leader of ours has always been talking about doing something to get in better graces with white folk, but never let us get something for ourselves until the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad Naturally, everybody knows that it takes a man to produce a man. So anybody that would come toward us, that would put that manhood in us, the white man was quick to get rid of them. They got some Muslims in jail right now, been in there over 40 or 45 years, that came over here trying to wake us up, and the white man immediately took them and slapped them in jail and hasn't let them out yet. Right to this day, they are still in jail. Why? Because with their manhood, they could instill manhood in us. So it takes a man. Since they know that they had kept all men away from us, they don't expect us to give birth to a man child. Can you see it? They know the laws of nature, that it takes a man to produce a man. But because they are disbelievers, they didn't count on God. And this is what the book was talking about. That God himself could produce this man to do the job without the agency of any other man on the planet Earth. But it would take God himself. And the white man, understanding prophecy, knows that when this comes about, God has visited. God has come. God has made this Negro, this virgin Negro, this Negro who never knew a man, has made him to conceive and bear a man. A man who would stand up and say, let's go for self. A man who has more manhood in his little finger than all of those almost 10 million black men throughout America have in their whole being, put together. When the white man hears what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is teaching and sees the work that he's doing, he knows that's God's man. He knows that's God's baby. He knows God produced that one. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad was born of man and woman physically just like everybody else. But spiritually, he was born of God. He was born of God because God was the one who raised him up from among us, taught him, and set him up as the one to teach the rest of us. You see his success today. You see his works today. And he is the product of a miraculous birth. This is what makes the white man mad. None of them can take credit. What do we mean that this was a thing done by God himself without the agency of a man? As we told you, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad didn't go beyond the 3rd grade. Suppose he had gone to Yale and Harvard and got a few degrees. The white man could have taken credit for the birth. That's right. If your wife has a baby, and that baby looks like another man, he can easily say, that's my baby. It may not be. His features just may resemble that man. But as long as he's got that man's features, that man can always put doubt in anybody's mind. He can always say, that's my baby, even if it's not. Well, by the same token, if the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had gone to the white man's schools, got the white man's education, then everything that he's doing, the white man could say, oh, why, of course. I mean, you know Muhammad's going to be successful after all. He studied economics at the University of California. I mean, sure, he's a great sociologist. He was a sociology major at Columbia University. I mean, of course. What's he doing? He's saying, that's my baby. For sure, he's got to be tough. That's my baby. But he can't say that. When he looks at the Honorable Elijah Muhammad doing this great work, all he can do is grit his teeth because that's not his baby. And the world sees that it's not his baby. All praise is due to Allah. You find it all through the book. You find in the story of Sarah, who was so old, Sarah and Abraham, who were both so old they were barren, and yet they gave birth to a child. This is nothing but a symbol of what has happened here today. That when a people are barren, when a woman is barren, she just can't give birth. Yet she gave birth anyway. This is us who have been made barren. Barren is that which is sterile, that which does not produce anything. Barren land you can't grow anything on. Is that right? Anything that's barren, nothing can come from it. Yet she conceived a child. Well, it's the same way. We, the so-called Negroes, didn't have anything in us to make us produce a man as great as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Yet he's here. And he didn't come from somewhere else. He was born and raised among us. In the story of Samson, Samson was the product of the same type of birth. Said that his mother was barren, was too old to be with child, and was barren, and could not have any children. Yet Samson had to be born. Why? Why? In every case, this child that was born under impossible circumstances and conditions, this child had a special work to do. Samson's job was to destroy the enemies that had enslaved his people. This is what he was born for. And the sign of his birth was his miraculous birth. The sign of his job was the manner in which he was born. And this never happened physically, but these are all signs pointing to the way that a man would be raised up or spiritually born in the last days among a people that it would be impossible for a man like that to be born among. Impossible for them to produce a man like that, yet they produce him. This is the proof to the world that God's hand was in it. We find the Honorable Elijah Muhammad born spiritually as the book says that Samson was born physically to do the same work that Samson was doing. As you remember just to touch on one job that Samson did. When Samson was trapped in Gaza and the Gazites were waiting outside the gate, they were waiting for a new day to break. They were waiting for dawn, and they were going to get him. They were going to kill him as he came out the gates of the city. But Samson, being a man of God, being guided by God, he didn't wait until the sun came up. They were waiting for the sun to come up as a signal of a new day, and Samson went according to the time. Right after midnight, it was already a new day. Samson recognized the new day while it was still dark. So while they went to sleep, waiting for Samson to come out at daybreak so they could get him, says Samson went up during the night at the beginning of the new day, uprooted not only the gate, but the two posts holding the gate, took them out and set them way up on top of a mountain. And when the sun came up, everybody looked up and they could see that the city was unguarded. That the gate that had kept people in and kept people out wasn't able to keep anybody in or out anymore. The various poles that they were resting on were uprooted. He didn't break them off or cut them down. He uprooted them so that the very roots, all that was down in the ground that was never seen before, all this was exposed up on a high mountain. And Samson was so strong that all the men in the town couldn't lift that gate to bring it back down. Once he exposed it, couldn't anybody cover it up. They couldn't do nothing about it but just look at the gate and weep. This is what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is doing today. Just as the denominations, the gates held the people in and out of the city and were controlled by the gatekeepers in that day. So today, the various denominations of Christianity and Buddhism, the two religions that have our people think that they got one religion, they're in two religions all the time. Christianity and Buddhism. Reincarnation, coming back from the dead and all that is Buddhism. Buddhism. You laugh at Buddhists, but you're a Buddhist if you believe that. You're a Hindu. These two religions have been holding our people in. This is how all these denominations came about. Various facets of this pagan religion of Buddhism. This 35,000-year-old religion that have been tricking people for the last 35,000 years. Getting into other religions and not even being recognized for what it is. This is what has trapped us. This is what has trapped the so-called Negro. This mixed up religion that we call Christianity. That's got a little bit of just about every pagan religion you can name in it. It's got the religion of the tree worshipers. Some of y'all be doing it next month. Be decorating trees. Putting all kind of ornaments on them. And singing Christmas carols and praying to Jesus. And the Bible condemns you. The 10th chapter of Jeremiah, the 2nd verse, condemns the Christmas tree as the work of heathen. You'll go to church and got one sitting up in your church. You don't know what the religion is you've been in. Don't argue with us about religion. You don't know any religion. Not the one you're supposed to have had and not the one that you're seeking now. These two religions, Christianity and Buddhism, have been our downfall. They have closed us in a trap and have kept any with the light from coming in among us. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, like Samson, has uprooted the very foundation of these denominations. He's showing the real basis, the real root. He's showing just where these religions actually came from. He's showing the birth record of it, who produced them and what they were produced for, and their whole history. He's exposing all of the filth and indecency that is being shielded behind the name of a righteous man. And he's exposed it high up on the hill, and nobody has the power to hide it anymore. It's out there exposed, and the whole world sees it. Everybody sees it for what it is today. All praise is due to Allah. The book of Malachi says, "Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of that great and dreadful day of the Lord." What great and dreadful day of the Lord? It says a little earlier in Malachi that the day shall come that shall burn as an oven. This is the day that is great and dreadful. How can a day be great and dreadful? You walk out there right now and the sun's shining, bright, real bright sunshine. You may say, well, now this is a great day. Somebody else may say this is a dreadful day. You might go out there saying, I know this is good for me. My skin just feels like it's just perking up. I'm getting life in me. I'm getting more vitality from all this good sun. Here's some white person sitting over here talking about, oh, this ain't good for my skin cancer. I better stay in today. Why? Well, that day is great and dreadful. But it's not great and dreadful for the same person. It's great for somebody and dreadful for somebody else. On a rainy day, you may like the rain. I may hate the rain. I may be inside looking out, talking about this sure is a dreadful day. And you may be out there talking about it's a great day, just walking in the rain, whistling and singing, enjoying yourself. It's a great day for you, but a dreadful day for me. And the book says, a day shall come that shall burn as an oven. Now that sounds like a dreadful day. Yet it says that it's going to be a great and dreadful day. That means that though it's going to burn as an oven, it's not going to be bad for everybody. Somebody's supposed to be glad it's burning. Somebody's supposed to think it's a great day because it's burning. But if we tell you to feel great because God's going to burn up white folks, you say we teaching hate, won't you? If we say it's a great day, if God has a day burning as an oven and it's burning our enemies, the ones who have lynched us, raped us, robbed us, destroyed us, and still seeks to destroy us, if we say that we see God destroying them, and we say now is the time to say it's a great day, you say we were hateful. We were race mongers. Rabble rouser. But the Bible says it's going to be great and dreadful. What are you supposed to do on a great day? Be solemn or celebrate? All praises due to Allah. We said before that day, God said he would send Elijah. How is he going to send Elijah? Since Malachi is the last book in the Bible, and it's prophesying Elijah will be sent. But we look all the way back in the book of Kings and see Elijah looking like he's already been sent. But Malachi is telling you that all you read back in the book of Kings was nothing but a prophecy of Elijah when he does come. Not an Elijah that lived thousands of years ago, but to look forward just before that day that shall burn as an oven. Just before God brings judgment and destruction down on his enemies, look for Elijah to rise up in your midst. What will he do? Said he'll turn the hearts of the children to the father, and the hearts of the fathers to the children. Make us think back on our fatherland. Stop us from thinking all of the Africans, all the people that look like us are nothing but a bunch of savages with rings in their noses and bones in their head. Stop us from that. Stop the Africans from thinking that we're all nothing but a bunch of twisters and partiers and a bunch of lushes that he can't bring his wife around without us reaching out, hitting on her, and all this old sort of stuff. Stop that. He's made the African see that there is being produced in America a civilized black man. And he's making the black man in America realize that in Africa there is emerging a civilized black man. And that the history of Africa is the basis and the foundation of all civilization. He's turning our hearts back to them and turning their hearts to us. Jesus said that Elijah would restore all things. He said Elijah must first come and restore all things. Restore means put things back where they were. Is that right? You and I weren't always here. You read your history books. You see we were brought here on slave ships. You see we were once a free and independent people. We weren't always subservient to white folks, second-class citizen and all that kind of junk, begging for civil rights. We weren't always like that. Well, then if Elijah comes, Elijah must restore us back to our former glory. Is that right? We weren't always named Jones, Johnson, Smith, Green, and Brown. Is that right? No, well, when Elijah comes, Elijah has to restore us back to our former name. We didn't always worship a God that looked like the one that's hanging us on a tree. Well, when Elijah comes, he's got to restore our God back to it. We didn't always have the religion of Christianity. Even when the Christians first enslaved us, they didn't let us practice their religion. They kept us out of the church for 300 years. Just over 100 years ago, they let the first black man set foot in a Christian church. They didn't even let you read the Bible. They kept it locked up and then kept a chain on it, chaining it to the wall, and then wouldn't teach you to read. So they had a triple guard against your reading. We weren't always Christians. Well, then when Elijah comes, he's got to restore us back to our own religion. All praise is due to Allah. Let's understand. Elijah suffered much. Elijah was chased by his enemies. Elijah had to run for his life. Elijah had to go live in a cave and just depend on whatever God brought him to feed him. He lived in a cave. You know, a cave is rocky. He couldn't even grow anything to eat. He wasn't anything. He couldn't even find any mushrooms. Even if he would have eaten those, wouldn't nothing grow in this cave. He was just helpless. If he stuck his head out of the cave, his enemies might see him and take his head off. So he just had to be there and just depend on God. Elijah was out in the wilderness where there was nothing edible. Elijah was running for his life. But Elijah trusted in God, and he knew God would see him through. And the book says God sent the ravens down to feed Elijah. Showing what? Elijah would always be taken care of. No matter what Elijah suffered, no matter who sought Elijah's life, God would always be the one that was with Elijah. Elijah challenged Baal's prophets. Told him, come up on the mountainside if your God be true. If your God be true, then you come up on the mountainside. Because I got a test for him. I got a good test for him. So you call on yours, and I call on mine. And we'll see what happens. See, now, if mine don't answer, you got me. It's a whole bunch of y'all and just one of me. So if yours don't answer, if mine don't answer, you got me. But he said, if yours don't answer, I'm cutting your heads off. Yes, sir. This is something that you read. It's right in your Bible. When they preach Elijah in the church, they never even talk about that. They just talk about how Elijah challenged Baal prophets and God answered Elijah. But they don't tell you what the consequences were. They don't tell you what was laid on the line. Because if they teach you that, you might begin to realize that the man God sent is not always so turn the other cheekish. That's right. He don't always talk that old passive resistance talk. Elijah told him, now we're going to test God. And if I lose, you can kill me. Because if you lose, I'm killing you. And according to the Bible, he didn't turn soft and after it was over says, well, forgive them, Lord, for they knew not what they were doing. Said that when their God didn't answer, then he told his army. He didn't call on God to strike them with no lightning. He didn't ask for no thunder. He told his men, said, now get them. And they wiped every one of them out on the spot. That was the price they had to pay for telling lies. All praise is due to Allah. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad today is anxious to get his program before the eyes of all the people. He's anxious to let everyone see and hear what the Muslims want. This is why every day this week, every morning this week, you will hear on the radio the Honorable Elijah Muhammad explaining what the Muslims want and why we want it. Also, every issue of Muhammad Speaks newspaper that comes out, you look on the back of it and he's got it right on there. Wants you to see what his program is, what he's calling on his God to help him accomplish for 22 million black people. Pretty soon, be it the will of Allah, we hope to have a record on the market, what the Muslims want by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We want this in everybody's hands. We want everybody to hear. Why? He wants the world to see. This is up on the mountain. When you go up on a mountain, everybody can see. He wants to put his program out for the whole world to see and let everybody else who claims they got a solution to the black man's problem put their program up there. And then once we get all the programs all up there, let's put them to the test. Winner take all.
You know, in the first act, you always got intermission, and then in the second act, you always got intermission. But in the last act, when you stroll out on the stage, if you're not right, that's all she wrote. So this is the situation that we find ourselves in today, that we may have been lollygagging, we may have been a little slack, or we may have been wasting a little time and not getting ourselves together, figuring we got all the time in the world. But as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us today, not time is running out, but time has run out. And today we must make sure that we're on the side of the righteous. You heard him say that on the radio. You see him saying that in the newspaper. And whenever you see him saying that in person, that it's time to get on the side, to make sure that you get on the side of the righteous. And lots of times what we as followers of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad do is we reach a stage of sophistication in Islam, so that we become numb or inured, as they call it, to the teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And we begin to think that when he's talking, the reason that we holler so much about teach is because we feel like he's teaching everybody but us. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is not the type of leader who would teach and teach only those who are not with him and not teach those who are with him. If he continued for 33 years teaching those who were not following him, then he would actually have them lifted up above those who were following him, unless he was teaching those that are following him at the same time. So we should listen very carefully to his teaching at all times and make sure that we are being lifted up as everyone else is being lifted up. But man is still in the grave of ignorance and still completely in the gutter, and what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is teaching him will lift him up. Then if we have begun to follow him and we are already lifted to the degree or to the level that this man in the gutter is trying to reach, then still in the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teaching, how much more will it lift us up even higher? In fact, the fact that our eyes are open, the fact that we already are following him, should make us able to take his teaching and climb higher quicker than anybody else. We should take his teaching to heart, and it should advance us faster than it does the person who's never heard it before. So when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is teaching, and when he instructs us to teach his teaching, it is always directed at the Muslim and the non-Muslim. It's directed at the new Muslim and the old veteran Muslim. It's directed at the Muslim just in the ranks and at the laboring Muslim.
is directed at everyone within earshot. Tonight's subject, as Brother James pointed out, deals with about the lowest, most despicable type of character that you can find, the hypocrite. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that a hypocrite is one who speaks with his mouth that which is not in his heart. You can't get any more low down than that. Whatever's in your heart should come out of your mouth. But when you speak with your mouth that which is not in your heart, it means that your motive is to deceive. You can't have a good motive and speak with your mouth that which is not in your heart. Anytime you do that, your motive has to be wrong because you are seeking to deceive. You're not seeking to show the true side of yourself. You're not seeking to expose the truth to whoever you're talking to, but you're seeking to present a lie and make them accept it as the truth. That's a hypocrite. We have many histories of hypocrites, all of whom pretended, as Brother James called them, the great pretender, pretended to submit to a messenger of God, pretended to submit to those who that messenger had placed in authority, pretended, in fact, to submit to God, because it's impossible to submit to God and not submit to his messenger, and it's impossible to submit to his messenger and not submit to those whom his messenger places in authority. The hypocrite who is afraid to openly rebel against the messenger of Allah will always rebel against those whom the messenger has placed in authority. Then the hypocrite who gets bold enough that he absolutely wants to reject Allah, he's still a little afraid to rebel against Allah, so he rebels against the messenger of Allah. But you don't find a hypocrite standing up saying Allah is not God. No, there are various degrees of hypocrites. Various degrees of hypocrites. Beginning with the one who says, yeah, Allah, I know Allah is God. I'm still with Allah. But the messenger is wrong. I'm still with the messenger, but I can't follow his minister. I'm still with the minister, but I can't obey the captain. The captain's all right, but I'm not going to do what his lieutenants say. Varying degrees of hypocrites. You must be with the one in authority over you, or you are not with anyone in authority over them. Until that one in authority over him removes him, you are duty bound, if you are a Muslim, to obey that one. That's Islam. But the hypocrite always thinks that he knows a little bit beyond that. He always thinks that he's an exception because that's for the masses, but he sees a little bit around that. What he really wants to do is replace that one that he's rebelling against. He thinks that he can do a better job. So he will drop his little critical seeds. Oh yes, it's fine and all that. Of course now, such and such a thing not right. But I mean, despite that though, Islam is all right. All praises due to Allah. But he's dropped his little seed. Of course, I think we could be doing something. But the brotherhood, it's fine. All praises due to Allah. All holy praises due. Three of the greatest hypocrites against three of the greatest prophets are prime examples. Beginning with Korah, back in Moses' time. What was the seed that he planted among the people? Lack of progress. Read your Bible. See what it was that made the people continually mumble and grumble against Moses by the prodding of Korah. Why, we're not doing as good as we did under Pharaoh. Why, even under Pharaoh, we had enough to eat. He keep on talking about this promised land. We still out in the desert. We've been out here 20 years. Ain't got nowhere yet. Same old sand this year I saw last year. That was Korah working his work. What did Moses bring us out here for? He said he was going to show us a land flowing with milk and honey. Well, I don't see no milk. I don't see no honey. All we see is manna every day, manna. But the book says that manna was from heaven. That manna was a divine food. That manna was a food. Here was the only people on earth being supplied with food directly by God. Didn't have to harvest for it, didn't have to plow for it, didn't have to do nothing. God was feeding them. And they were dissatisfied because they let the hypocrite among them talk that old talk and blind them to the blessing that Jehovah was given to them and make them only critical of Moses, the man of Jehovah. Judas, as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us, began to plant seeds among the other disciples of Jesus as to the use of the money. He was the purse keeper. And just because he kept the purse, he thought he should be the one to say how to spend the purse. But he couldn't even get a purse till Jesus taught him how to get a purse. He didn't even know what a purse looked like till Jesus showed him. But then he got so wise, he couldn't take Jesus' word for the way that the purse was supposed to be spent. Just because Jesus, then he didn't even ask himself, who made him the purse keeper? Who let him keep the purse? All praises due to Allah. It's obvious that he had some effect. It's obvious that the old hypocrite Judas had some effect, because as soon as the pressure came down, Jesus' disciples all defected. The Bible says they all fled. They left Jesus. They had been weakened by this one hypocrite among them. Abdallah ibn Ubay, the hypocrite that Muhammad 1400 years ago had to face. One of the many hypocrites he had to face. But this one was so bad he was called the chief of the hypocrites. To this day, he's known as the chief of the hypocrites. He was able to sow his seeds very well, because when he defected, according to the Holy Quran, he took all of the best men with him. He took all of the best men that Muhammad had with him. When I say best, not best in righteousness, but the strong, young warriors. He took them with him. Muhammad was left with nothing but old men and young boys. That's all he was left to fight with. Little young boys who had never been trained for war, and old men who were almost too feeble for war. This was his army, after the hypocrite defected and took all of the crack troops along with him. Yet, Allah made his apostle successful. Ubay was not successful with all his crack troops, and Muhammad, with old men and young boys, was successful. Why? Because Allah was with him. He wasn't dependent on troops, he was dependent on Allah. Ubay knew that the battle strategy he wanted to follow was the best. He was too good a general not to know good battle strategy when he saw it. It was obvious to him that it was the best battle strategy. Allah had revealed to Muhammad that the battle strategy that this hypocrite wanted to use was the best strategy. Allah revealed that to Muhammad, that was the best strategy. The argument was over whether they should stay in the walls of Medina and fight the enemy when they came, or whether they should go out to meet the enemy because of all of the victories that they had won. Most of Muhammad's companions said, let's go out and meet the enemy. They were so emboldened by their victories. They felt so good because they hadn't tasted defeat in so long. They said, let's go out and meet the enemy. But Allah had already revealed to Muhammad that the best plan would be to stay in the walls of Medina and be secure and pick the enemy off as they came charging. But Muhammad had also been taught and commanded by Allah to always take counsel with his companions. And if the companions, a majority of them, made a decision, then Muhammad was to go along with their decision. Muhammad, being 100% obedient to Allah, despite the fact that he knew the best battle plan was not what they suggested, since he couldn't convince them to follow the best battle plan, then he submitted to their plan. Ubay, the hypocrite, who claimed he believed in Muhammad, since he knew that this was not the best plan, he rebelled. He revolted. He stayed behind. I'm not going out there and get slaughtered. Well, Allah already revealed to the messenger that this was the best plan. Why is the messenger going to go out now and follow that other plan? Well, regardless, he had sworn his allegiance to the messenger. Whatever course the messenger was going to take, that was the right course. This is where the test comes in. No matter what this hypocrite thought he knew, had he not been a hypocrite, he would have known that the best plan is whatever plan that the messenger takes. That's the best one. Regardless of all the military strategy he knew or what he thought he knew about divine revelation, it's what the messenger was going to do. Allah is with the messenger. And when Ubay stayed behind, the walls couldn't secure him because Allah wasn't with him. The city couldn't secure him because Allah wasn't with him. The distance across the desert couldn't save him because Allah wasn't with him. But Muhammad, with an inferior force, outnumbered, out-horsed, out-armed, still was in better shape than Ubay because Allah was with him. This is where the hypocrite misses the boat. He reasons too much. He gets too logical. He gets too intelligent. He thinks. He forgets that all intelligence is from Allah. And Allah has chosen a messenger in whom he has invested the greatest of his intelligence. An intelligence that he has not given to anybody else that has ever existed at any time. He has raised up a messenger that has more intelligence than the one who raised up the other messengers. So So we don't reason. This is why in the Holy Quran it says that it is a sin punishable from Allah himself for the messenger to decide any issue, and then those who are with him leave his presence and begin to discuss it among themselves to change his decision. Because on what basis are you going to change it? That which the devil has taught you for all the years before you finally woke up and got some real teaching? But on what did the messenger base his decision? On what Allah taught him. And on what Allah is telling him in his ear daily, just as I'm talking to you right now. Not in a vision, not in a dream, not in a revelation, but directly his voice in the messenger's ear, just like you hear my voice speaking now. Now let us weigh what we would reason on. All praise be to Allah. So let us weigh what we would use to reason with against what his reasoning is. And how do we come off? Not even a good second best. It's not necessary for us to do too much in the way of improvisation or creation up here in talking about hypocrites, while the Holy Quran is full of it. The Holy Quran has the hypocrites written off, as this is why Brother James was talking about, painting that picture, because it paints it so plain until it'll just about make everybody squirm. When these pictures of the hypocrites are painted, it just about makes everybody squirm. Because our belief is not yet perfect. Our belief is not yet complete. And we find pockets of hypocrisy, even among ourselves. The reason that we're taught so much about the hypocrites is because there's so many pockets of hypocrisy we got in our own hearts, that this is in order for us who, if we are actually in love with Allah and his messenger and desire to be good, we're in love with righteousness, then this enables us to be able to see that portion of it that's in us and give us a chance to root it out. Chapter 9, the Holy Quran, the 47th and 48th verse, talks about Allah causing the hypocrites to defect. It said, had they gone forth with you, they would have added to you naught but trouble, and would have hurried to and fro among you, seeking to sow dissension among you. And among you there are those who would listen to them, and Allah well knows the wrongdoers. It's a wise guy. He knows that there's some that are so weak that if he let the hypocrite stay too long, that they will be able to convert those. So he snatches the hypocrite out in time to save many of the weak ones. And each time he snatches one, it should strengthen that weak one. Certainly they sought to sow dissension before, and they devised plots against thee, till the truth claimed. And Allah's command prevailed, though they did not like it. In the 50th verse, same chapter. In fact, we're not going out of chapter 9 tonight. It's telling you how the hypocrite feels about you. If good befalls thee, it grieves them. And if hardship afflicts thee, they say, indeed, we had taken care of our affair before, and they turn away rejoicing. They don't rejoice to your face. But when they know that hardship is afflicting you, they say, well, I'm glad I took care of mine beforehand, and then they turn away where you can't see their face, and they rejoice because they were hurting when you were doing good. That if good befalls thee, it grieves them. They're grieved when you're doing good, happy when you're not. So it says, say, nothing will afflict us save that which Allah has ordained for us. Now, no hypocrite rejoices because some ill befalls you. Don't feel a thing. Let them know that nothing can afflict you except what Allah lets afflict you. If it's Allah's will for it to afflict you, then all praise is due to Allah. You're glad to have the affliction. It says, he is our patron, and on Allah let the believers rely. Then it says, challenge the hypocrite with this. Say, do you await for us but one of two most excellent things? Then the footnote, it explains that these two most excellent things is for the triumph of Islam or to die while trying to make Islam triumph. The two excellent things that a Muslim can accomplish. He can either be a part of the overcoming of all other religions by Islam, or he can die while trying to push that same program. Either way, he's blessed. So they're asking the hypocrite, is that what you're waiting for? And we await for you that Allah will afflict you with chastisement from himself or by our hands. Got two ways for them too. Either Allah can take care of them or Allah can use us to take care of them. So wait. Here's what it's telling them. You got a hypocrite standing around, yeah, I'm going to wait and see what happens. Yeah, we're going to wait. So the Holy Quran says, tell them. So wait. We too are waiting with you. Right. 21st verse of the 9th chapter says, and of them are those who molest the prophet and say he is all ear. And in the footnote it also explains that this Arabic word that's used here for ear actually means one who hears and believes everything that is said to him. This word that was used to describe the messenger that is translated here as ear says that some of the hypocrites think that he is all ear. Or this word doesn't just mean ear, but it means one who hears everything that he believes everything he hears. Hears all and believes everything he hears. Whatever you tell him, he'll go for it. This is what the hypocrite believes. This is why they're always so quick to say, if I can just get to the messenger, I'll be all right. Because they think that he will believe anything that he hears. Say, a hearer of good for you, and he believes in Allah and believes the faithful, and is a mercy for those of you who believe. And those who molest the messenger of Allah, for them is a painful chastisement. Oh yes, and he's merciful. He'll listen to you. Care how wrong he might know you are. He'll listen to you. And he'll do what he can to try and assuage your grief and to try and handle your complaint. And he won't attempt to punish you even because you're wrong when you approach him like that. By letter, by phone, by person, or by however you do it. He won't even give you a reproach because he knows that in the Quran, Allah has already promised that he'll take care of it. Just go ahead and act like you don't mind being bothered because Allah will take care of it. Because they know better, but they are not believers. In the 67th verse, it says, the hypocrites, men and women, are all alike. They enjoin evil and forbid good and withhold their hands. They have forsaken Allah, so he has forsaken them. Surely the hypocrites are the transgressors. There's twice. In fact, just the next verse starts off also. Allah promises the hypocrites men and women. There's a necessity for making this plain. Because you find that Korah, Judas, Abdallah ibn Ubay, and all of the rest, these were all men who were shown to be hypocrites. But the Holy Quran is pointing out that hypocrites are of both sexes, men and women. And you find that the Bible and the Quran bear witness to this 100% in all of the histories of those who had hypocrites. Look at Lot. In fact, in Lot's whole history, there's only one hypocrite pointed out, and that was his wife. Only hypocrite that the Bible shows that Lot had was his wife. Samson, betrayed by his wife. Job, when God afflicted him, his wife who had pretended to be with him during all the good times, when Job had her living good and had her house full of servants and had all these cattle and all of this stuff for her to enjoy, she was just worshiping just right along with Job. She was so devout. She was so loving. She was such a good wife and a believer. But when she lost all this, and even her husband began to be tormented with sickness, then she showed her true level of belief. She told him, curse God and die. No believer will ever advise you to curse God. She was a hypocrite. All praise is due to Allah. And as the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us, Muhammad 1400 years ago predicted that today, in the last days, that this devil would be so skillful in his attraction for our women. He said that Muhammad made this statement, that the men, the Muslims, the believers, will have to go home and tie down their mothers, their aunts, their sisters, their daughters, and their wives to keep them from following the devil. Have to tie them down to keep them from following the devil. So there are hypocrites in both sexes. Guard against it, whatever your sex. Guard against it. As that old popular song says, it could happen to you. The best way, the easiest way for it to happen to you is for you to think it can. All praise is due to Allah. It says, and the believers, but let's stick with it, because on the 71st verse says, and the believers, men and women, are friends of one another. They enjoin good and forbid evil, and keep up prayer and pay the poor rate, and obey Allah and his messenger. As for these, Allah will have mercy on them. Surely Allah is mighty wise. Why would Allah have to have mercy on the believers? Because it shows you then the believers can't be perfect. If they're perfect and if they're doing everything 100%, they don't need Allah's mercy. All they need is justice. All he has to do is reward them for their good work. are believers, and they're believers because why? They are friends to one another. This is proof of their belief. They enjoin good and forbid evil. They don't ever encourage you to do evil. If you are feeling in a negative sense, in a negative way, in a mood where you are feeling negative, they'll never encourage that. They'll always try to show you the good way. The hypocrite does the exact opposite. It says they enjoin evil and forbid good and withhold their hands. They enjoin evil and forbid good. If you're feeling too good, they want to drop something to make you say, they say, oh, aren't we taking care of business? We sure are pushing the program. Say, yeah, man, if we don't do so-and-so, we ain't doing nothing and we're going to be in trouble. What are they doing? They're enjoining evil, and they don't want you to think positively. They don't want you to even spend a few moments rejoicing over the good work that you're doing. They want to stop you. And they want you to be down in the dumps. Because they know then that Islam gets weak in your heart when grief enters, because Islam removes grief. They can't abide in the same heart together. So if they can get grief in your heart, they can push a little of your Islam out. The difference in the actions. The believers enjoin good and forbid evil. The hypocrites enjoin evil and forbid good. The believers keep up prayer and pay the poor rate and obey Allah and His messenger. It says that the hypocrites withhold their hands. The believers do everything they can to push the program. But the hypocrite withholds. Why? Because he feels that by withholding, he can weaken you. By not paying the poor rate. By not even keeping up prayer. He feels that if he don't add his prayer to yours, that you might fall. You might fail in that which you're trying to do. He will even commit acts that are unrighteous in the sight of the public because he feels that it will reflect on you. And he wants to harm you. He will harm himself, will destroy himself to harm you just out of his disbelief and hypocrisy. Surely the hypocrites are the transgressors. But it says when they withhold, when they won't do the duty that they're to do, when they won't push the program that Allah has given His messenger, it says they have forsaken Allah. So He has forsaken them. All praises due to Allah. The 78th verse. Know they not that Allah knows their hidden thoughts and their secret counsels, and that Allah is the great knower of the unseen things? Ask forgiveness for them. This is talking to those who sympathize with the hypocrites, because there are always those who do. Because sooner or later the hypocrite gets exposed, and sooner or later the hypocrite gets destroyed, and there are always those who feel like the hypocrite is being done an injustice. Ask forgiveness for them, or ask not forgiveness for them. Look at Allah. He's telling you, you got your choice. You can ask forgiveness or ask not forgiveness. It's not going to affect what He does one way or another. Even if thou ask forgiveness for them 70 times, Allah will not forgive them. This is because they disbelieve in Allah and His messenger, and Allah guides not the transgressing people. All praises due to Allah. We're going through this rapidly. As I say, there's no need for too much explanation. It's self-explanatory. Look what else Allah says about the hypocrites. They will swear by Allah to you when you return to them, so that you may leave them alone. Oh yes, they go into a real believing scene to keep you off of it. They don't want you to be asking, well, why aren't you doing so-and-so? Why don't you do so-and-so? Oh, they'll just declare themselves as just, oh, they really are with the program and blah, blah, blah. And this is you. Naturally, you don't want to hear that. You want to know why they're not doing what they're supposed to do. So they figure you'll leave them alone. So look what Allah tells the messenger. So that you may leave them alone. So leave them alone. Surely they are unclean, and their refuge is hell, a recompense for what they earn. Tell them that, okay, if they do anything like that to make you leave them alone, go ahead and leave them alone. They still have to face Allah. He already has hell prepared for them. As the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has been saying all this week on the radio, that hell is not only, the fire is not only prepared for the devil, but for all those who follow the devil. All praises to Allah. It says, they will swear to you that you may be pleased with them. But if you are pleased with them, yet surely Allah is not pleased with the transgressing people. Verse 98. And of the dwellers of the desert are those who take what they spend to be a fine, and they wait for an evil turn of fortune for you. On them is the evil turn, and Allah is hearing, knowing. What is talking about? Still talking about hypocrites who feel that when they pay the poor rate, that it's a fine, it's a penalty. In other words, their heart is not in it. They don't give gladly and joyfully, but they give begrudgingly. They give bitterly. They give for one pressure or another, because they know somebody's looking at the record, or because they think that they might be counseled and might be criticized for it. But they give begrudgingly. They're not giving because they love Allah and His messenger and want to further the program, but they give for one reason or another. They either so they can show their receipts, and when they drop their evil seeds, they can say, and you know I'm not no hypocrite because I donate. Whatever their devious reason. Any other reason other than love for Allah and His messenger and the program, they're hypocrites. All praises due to Allah. It says, and Allah is hearing, knowing. You might fool everybody in the mosque, but you can't fool Allah. And we're not the judges. We're not the ones that you're going to have to face today. You have to face Allah. And as the book says, He knows what's in your heart. No matter what you profess with your lips, He knows what's in your heart. So it's best to keep those two things in a card. Keep your mouth and your heart in perfect harmony at all times. On 105, verse 105. And saying if there are those who are weak, there are those who are weak who fall prey to the hypocrite and go for the hypocrite's line, and they find themselves catching the same penalties as the hypocrite, and they honestly repent. There are those who repent, there are those who pretend to repent. There are those who pretend to repent to get back in good standing so that they can do more damage than they did at first. Then there are those who earnestly see themselves having been led astray by some hypocrite. So then they want to repent. They're doing a work that Allah knows about, or they're doing a work that the messenger knows about, but don't nobody else know about it. But the Holy Quran says that the way you test him is you tell him to do a work that Allah knows about, His messenger knows about, and the believers know about. That's the way you test him. All praises due to Allah. And you will be brought back to the knower of the unseen and the seen. Then He will inform you of what you did. In verse 107, it warns those whom I've heard the messenger talk about many times, who go out. Not only is this a picture that is being prophetically filled by one hypocrite, but has had signs leading up to it for many, many years. For those who the messenger says they go out in order to establish a mosque in pretense of helping to push the program. But in reality, it's because of their secret dissatisfaction in the mosque that they're already in. He says they never progress. You always see them look like they spurt, and then all of a sudden they wither right on the vine. The Holy Quran says the same thing. And those who built a mosque to cause harm to Islam and to help disbelief and to cause disunion among the believers, and a refuge for him who made war against Allah and His messenger before. And they will certainly swear, we desired naught but good, and Allah bears witness that they are certainly lying. They'll say that they were really doing it for good. They were only trying to help. They were only trying to spread the teaching. They were only trying to push the program. But Allah knows they're lying. Never stand in it. Talking about that mosque that they will build. Certainly, a mosque founded on observance of duty from the first day is more deserving that thou should stand in it. From the first day. When the mosque is first founded, it should be founded on observance to duty. It should be founded with an idea to do duty and to worship Allah and follow His messenger and push His program and get the dead. If not that from the very first day, then it's best you don't even stand in it. In it are men who love to purify themselves. This is a mosque that's founded on duty. Men who love to purify themselves. And Allah loves those who purify themselves. Is he then, who lays his foundation on duty to Allah and His good pleasure, better? Or he who lays his foundation on the edge of a cracking hollowed bank, so it broke down with him into the fire of hell? And Allah guides not the unjust people. This is an excellent chapter in the Holy Quran. It takes great pains to point out the various excuses. There's much more in there. We only took a little of it, but there's much more in there. It takes great pains to point out the various forms of the hypocrite's hypocrisy. They don't all sound just alike. They don't all come from the same angle. But the Holy Quran points out all the different angles they can possibly come from. And any way they come, they can be seen. And it also says, but those that you don't see, don't even worry about it. It said that Allah knows them and that He would reveal them. He would be the one to reveal them. It talks about two chastisements. It says that they would get two chastisements. Number one, the first chastisement would be that as long as they were pretending to believe, they would have to do a certain amount of duty, and this is a chastisement to a disbeliever. To push a program that you're not in favor of is a whipping for a disbeliever. It's a punishment. So Allah says that would be their first chastisement, the fact that they would have to do any duty at all just to stay around the believers. Said then when they would be revealed and brought up before the public, that would be their second chastisement. All praise is due to Allah. In the history of Muhammad, there was a time at a Friday congregational meeting where he stood there, right there on the roster, and called all of the hypocrites out. Just pointed them out and had them brought up and dismissed right before everybody. Allah chose that time because He had even kept the hypocrites hidden from the messenger. Kept the hypocrites hidden until His time to reveal them. And when He revealed them, the messenger knew that was the signal to take action. So when Allah showed him the hypocrites, the messenger just began to pick them out. They were ushered out by his followers. That was a sign. Remember that Muhammad was only a sign of this Muhammad. And Allah will reveal all of the hypocrites. Oh, there had been those that had cropped up that Muhammad's followers had taken care of earlier and that Muhammad himself had dismissed earlier. But when the mass cleanup came, it was Muhammad himself who merely picked them out because Allah showed him every one of them. All praise is due to Allah. So brothers and sisters, I want to take a few minutes. I hope you won't mind, but I want to take a few minutes to remind all of you of the special collection which we started last Sunday and which we have gotten pretty fair response on. But we still have not gotten total participation. We hope and pray Allah that those of you who were able have done so tonight, or if you have not yet done so, that you will do so before we leave here tonight, that you will take the time and take the trouble to make sure that your $5 is in. And there are many things that, as Brother Captain pointed out to you this past Wednesday, there are many things that we are doing, and every one of them involves finance. There's nothing that we do that is free. Nothing whatsoever. We can't even meet here free, as you well know. When you look at these lights burning, you see money being burned up. You feel the heat or the air, whichever we happen to have, the fans on, anything, that's money being burned up. And just sitting here costs money because we have to pay for the building. And when it's paid for, we'll still have taxes to pay. Unless we become exempt, which the devil doesn't want to do naturally. He does not want to do that. So, when you see, as you saw this week in the California Eagle, you saw a big ad, a half a page, about the play and concert which we will have on the 15th of this month at Embassy Auditorium. You know that costs money. Half a page costs money. You looked in the Los Angeles Sentinel, you saw another ad on about the same program at the embassy. You also saw a cut on it, a picture with some copy on it, on the fact that this affair is being given. This costs money. Next week, or week after next rather, we will be on the radio with ads, advertising, spot announcements, advertising this affair. Well, this affair is going to make some money. So all we have to do is make sure that we're able to promote it, and it will more than support itself. This is one of the things that will help us in this drive that we're doing. This is why we limited it to $5, because we expect that with the help, the total help, and a good solid push from all of the believers, that this program will take us exactly where we need to be. At this point, this doesn't mean that that's the end. Right there, we sit down and it's all over. No, it will take us where we need to be now, because we're not where we need to be. There's too much that we have to do. It has to be done. And the fact that we don't have the money is not excuse enough for us to stop. Now, unless we do get the money together, we can't say where it's going to end, because we don't believe in any mystery God. But the plain fact is, we can't stop the messenger from being on the radio 5 times a week just because of some lack in our finances. We can't do it. We can't do it. The only way we'll do it is just there's nowhere we can find anywhere to scrape up any money. Because we know the value of the messenger's voice in our people's ears. We know that. And we know that you understand that and that you know that. And this is why we're appealing to you and letting you know that this is what is required. It is required that we do everything in our power to raise finance in order to keep this program going, to keep the radio program going, to keep the newspapers, the local newspapers, which we're working on. We're working on those for a purpose. Be it the will of Allah, within the next 2 weeks, you'll begin to see the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's own column, Muhammad Speaks, appearing regularly in a local black newspaper. Well, this didn't happen this week. It didn't happen last week. This has been years of doing all sorts of public relations that were honorable. This has been years of hobnobbing, listening to a lot of junk and disbelief and all that kind of stuff, and smiling and going along and saying, well, you got a point, but such and such, and this is, you know, that doesn't feel good. Doesn't feel good to look in some disbeliever's face who think they know everything, and they're going to try to show how they're so much wiser than your leader and teacher, which is an insult. For them to try and compare their knowledge with his. It doesn't feel good, but we got a point. We're trying to get something. Be it the will of Allah, we'll have it in a very few days. All that costs money. We don't whine them, but we sure have to dine them. That's right. We have to spend money with them. We spend money sometimes with them when we know that it's not going to, if we give an affair, there are some places that we put ads in, we know that it's not going to be seen. But we're building up something with that particular person in that particular spot. They got little newspapers around here that you don't even see. But we give them a $5 or $10 ad every now and then. These little outlying towns, they got some papers they run off on mimeographs. That's right. We drop an ad in there every now and then. Sure, it's not going to have any effect on, but suppose that paper grows. I looked at one right now that Brother Captain's been talking to the publisher for 2 years now down in San Diego. It was a little old sheet like that, little bitty little old thing that you almost throw away. Now that thing is grown up. It's bigger than the Eagle, and well, that other rag over there is nothing, but it's approaching the Sentinel. It has grown so. So I mean, this is, you look at the future. You don't know what a potential is in something like that. You know, and this is where, as Negroes, we made a mistake. We would always look at wherever a person is right now, and we would operate with them according to that. No, the messenger always, that's why the messenger says this is the mistake that was being made by all of his followers, and especially those who were laboring, who were seeking to fish, that we were following old hypocrite Red's lead, and he was so busy trying to get tight with a certain class of black people until he was ignoring that man in the mud. That's the man. Once you pull him, you don't know what's under the mud. When you see one of them sitting up on the hill, you see all of it. He ain't got nothing that you don't see. But when a man's in the mud, you got to get the mud off for you. You don't know, it might be a diamond under there. Might be a pearl. All praises be all right. So now, when we see a black brother who's got at least enough initiative and enough guts to just haul off and try to start a little one-page newspaper, we're not going to say to him, we can't use him. That's not love for your brother. We'll do what we can to help him. One day he may get big. If he gets big, then he can show his gratitude for the help that we've given him. This is what we have done right down the line. This is what we have done again and again and again. There are those who spit in our face behind it, but our lives, God, we're not worried about them. They get what's coming to them. In fact, they're already catching it. We don't even have to worry about them. Just turn our back on them and go on and work with another. So we have been able, there was a time when we couldn't pay to get an ad in the Sentinel. Then after we got so we could buy an ad in the Sentinel, they had to check the copy. A salesman couldn't even sell it. The publisher had to check the copy and okay it. And then still, though it is a rule in newspaper work that if you place so much money in advertising, you have a right to demand so much space for straight copy, they would not even honor the newspaper rules and give it to us. Now today, we're getting copy, pictures, and everything with our ad. This is work. This didn't come by accident. This didn't come because all of a sudden they just had a change of heart. It came because of hard work and cajoling and talking and all this sort of stuff. Hard work when some of the hypocrites are wondering what we're doing all day. Because that's what we want. That's what they want. Wonder what they do all day. You might come in and you might see some of the laborers sitting in the restaurant. Wonder what they've been doing all day. I'm tired. My back is tired. I've been doing so and so. Look at him. He's already clean, sitting there. Wonder what he's been doing, just hanging out. But when they see something like this, then they think that it's hopped out the sky. That old mystery God stuff again. That old spook Jesus again. It just popped up. No. This comes from planting, plowing, weeding, and harvesting. That's what it comes from. So now, and it comes from a concerted effort. You don't know how many hands and feet went into just developing this one thing. You'd be surprised at the list of people who have done certain things in this way. One can't do but so much, then another has to take over, then another one has to go at this angle, another has to hit it from another level. It's been done all around. You don't just, ain't no one genius that just walks in and says, well, I'm going to charm everybody and it's all. No. It's teamwork that got all this done. A whole lot of it. A whole lot of it. In fact, we can go in each one of the two black newspapers right now, and you'll find that if you start talking to each one of them, you'll find that there's one Muslim, and usually a laborer, that they know, that they've been talking to. A different one. Everyone in there will have been talking to a different one. Well, that's teamwork. Well, when they get back together, they probably might not say who they've been talking to, but their ideas are similar because they've been talking to people whose ideas are similar. When they get to talking, this is what does the job. We're not trying to teach you any course in promotion and public relations, but we just want you to see some of the things that have to go into working. This doesn't hop up by accident. When the Messenger started being on radio, do you think that was by accident? That took a lot of work. The Messenger put out a whole lot of money to begin being on radio. And in every city that he is in fact, he was so short-handed till he had to hire a non-Muslim just to go around and get his radio time for one while and negotiate with the people and set up his radio time. But all praises due to Allah, it was never necessary here, but there's not a radio station in town that's not familiar with the Muslims from a standpoint of seeking time. AM, FM, or in between them. Every one of them, they know the names. And every time we have one station, we're not just content with that. We not only are always dickering with the station for more and better time, but we also always bargaining with other stations. We're not content with no one station because anytime at all, that station can fold or anything can happen to it. We always got something else working, but that requires constant work. This is not something you can do sporadically. You got to keep on going all the time. So I just want you to understand that, and in doing that, it takes money. It takes money. It even takes just plain old thing like somebody might have some influence in any one of those meetings. You'd be surprised at how those things are set up. How really it's straight out corruption. But you might just have to give somebody a $10 bill. We've done that on any number of occasions. Just give somebody a little thing like a $10 bill slapped in somebody's hand can be the difference in how they gonna vote when they get in the board meeting and all that stuff. They so bad, this is what Negroes got, they have nothing to prestige. They so bad that they're on the board of directors, but you can buy them with $10. That kind of stuff. But this is the way our people are. So all of this has to be done. We can't ever put that we can't even put that in the records. Payola, so much and so much a week. No. Nobody does that, even Bobby Baker. But this is true. You have to do things like that, and not no dishonorable nothing. But if we know that here is 3 people that's going to decide whether or not the messenger is going to be on their station, or the messenger is going to be in their newspaper, or whether or not they will mention the fact that the messenger is coming to town, or mention his 3-year savings plan, or something of that nature. Don't think that we won't grease somebody's palm. Don't think we won't. If we got any grease at all, we'll grease their palm. Because all we after is the result. As long as we don't do anything dishonorable, we do anything to push our leaders program. So we just, whatever we see, whatever it takes for them, that's what we after. We do have bills, in fact, right now, still, from the accidents that occurred last Savior's Day. As you know, there have been believers who have, from that day on, have been suffering as a result of that accident. And we have bills some of which have not yet been paid. We paid many of them. Thanks to your splendid cooperation, we were able to pay some of them. Some of them we have not yet paid. We have not yet been able to pay. These things are pressing now, and we must get them paid. Now, this weekend, as I say, I hope that all of you will come up on this pledge, this $5 special donation, so that we will be able to take care of all of our expenses. We have a problem in local financing that we can overcome very easily if we catch it at the right stage. But it's just like anything else, just like any illness. It can be cured at the right stage, but you can let it go so far and it'll be fatal. So this is why we want to keep you apprised. This is why we're talking so much about it now, because it's at the stage now where it can be cured very easily. All we have to do is do the things that we have outlined here to take care of it. If we can get this donation up, this special donation, if we can push this play on the 15th of this month, and if we can continue to do our duty or bring all our duty up to par, continue to push the program 100%, including the pushing of Muhammad Speaks newspaper, which also, if we can get that to the point where we are selling them just like they're supposed to be, everybody's taking their quota, there's enough profit. There's enough profit in the paper alone to actually pay the rent, pay the mortgage. There's enough profit in Muhammad Speaks newspaper so that we wouldn't even have to pay any mortgage or any other bill. There would be some other bill. We could pay all the utilities, for instance, off of one issue of Muhammad Speaks if everybody took their quota. So I mean, this in itself, this is finance. When you start looking into finance, you find that everything we do affects it either positively or negatively. One way or the other. Everything we do affects it positively, and everything we don't do affects it negatively. There's no independent portion of the Messenger's program. It's all one big program. Whenever you let down on one, it affects every area, you name it. If you can find that the newspapers can affect the attendance and the finance. Find that the attendance will affect the finance and the newspaper. Find that the finance will affect the attendance and the newspaper. You can't disconnect labor from finance from attendance. They're all part of the same thing. And this is why you just can't be part of Muslim. You got to push everything that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has been given by Allah that we should push. It's the only way. Complete program. He gave us a complete religion. He didn't leave nothing out of the religion. We get out from Allah a complete religion from a perfect messenger, through a perfect messenger. And then we want to push it incompletely? It won't work. It won't fit that way. So, we want to take a certain amount of the California Eagle newspaper. This is the paper that I mentioned earlier that has agreed to take the Messenger's article in it. And so either the next issue or the issue directly after that, Muhammad Speaks, will appear in the California Eagle. All praises to Allah. So now, we're not beggars. The Messenger doesn't teach us to be beggars. We don't want nobody, as he always says, he don't want no foreign Muslims, nobody else, to be able to look back at us and say, well, look what I did for you all. No. Do something for us, we do something for them. Then when they act up, we can always show them what we did. Just like this foolish woman over here at this Herald Dispatch. Every time she opened her mouth talking about what she did for the Muslims, look what we did for her. We were selling 100,000 of these rags throughout America. That's when we got the reputation for forcing people to buy because they didn't want to buy this thing. They knew too much about it. Nobody wanted to read this filth. Only thing that was worthwhile in it was the Messenger's column. And a lot of them, once they got accustomed to that, then they would buy the paper and just turn to that. But it was a fight. It was a fight. When we first started selling Muhammad Speaks, we had to break down all the barriers that had been built behind this thing here. But we still sold 100,000 of them. Every issue. We sold 100,000 of them all over the country. And they hadn't sold 1,000 before then. In fact, it was a complete giveaway before. They had never collected a dime on this paper before the Messenger picked it up. Then here we were selling it for a dime and 15 cents all over the country, 100,000 copies an issue. So we don't feel a thing. We didn't beg them. They didn't do anything for the Messenger. He did everything for them. He made them. And just like he made them, Allah broke them. When they acted a fool and rebelled against the Messenger, Allah just destroyed them. They're not even a good root. Victim of black Muslim thugs leaves hospital. That's the headline this week. You got this pitiful looking picture of him. Looking like Mahatma Gandhi. It took him 3 hours to pose this hypocrite like this. They didn't say, now they got it looking like he was beat up so bad till he's just now getting out of the hospital, and that this is a recent thing. He was in a mental institution. He was in the nut ward. That's where he was. That's what he's just getting released from. He's a lunatic. We've been trying to sneak some pictures of him out there, and we never could get him. That's right. We've had so many cameras confiscated trying to get a picture of him in the nut ward. They give him back. I mean, they didn't take him permanently. They stopped him, But yeah, they searching everything. Make sure you don't get no pictures because they know, that there's a lot of people in there. People would like that, that they wouldn't want anybody to know they ever been there. And they know that a lot of people, don't want to get in there and take pictures, so they check you pretty good. But we've got brothers on the inside as patients, on the inside working at the hospital, and also visitors from the outside been trying to get in there with a camera to get this old hypocrite's picture. And we never could get it though, right in the nut. We wanted to get it right in the nut ward with the rest of the nuts. All the padding all on the cells and all that kind of stuff, So this is where he was. This is why the hearing had to be postponed. When the brothers that he accused had to go downtown for the hearing, they had to postpone it because they couldn't get him out of the loony ward. So it's very appropriate that this paper should come out this week. Now, this subject that was taught tonight was not one that was picked out of the hat because this paper came out, but was sent from Chicago months ago and scheduled to be taught tonight. So, it's no accident that this old hypocrite come out making headlines on the very night that this subject is scheduled to be taught. And it's not just being taught here, it's being taught all over America. And I'll guarantee you we'd be surprised if we could see some of the things that are going on in all of the other cities, or many of the other cities today, that really make the subject so appropriate. But enough of this nut. We don't want to spend a whole lot of time on him. In fact, I'm glad that there's only one subject in 4 months that's dedicated to the hypocrite, because we don't want to build the hypocrite. This is one of the things that one of the mistakes that the devil made. He attacked the messenger so hard he started everybody saying, who is he? He didn't do nothing but focus some attention on him. Every knock is a boot. So this is why I'm not, once the hypocrite has been destroyed, and he's been destroyed, the messenger is taking care of that, then I'm not for doing a whole lot of harping and carping on him, because you don't do nothing to keep Jesus has been dead 2,000 years, and if people hadn't kept on talking about him, would nobody know nothing about him? So I'm not for advertising no hypocrites. So, every now and then, whenever it's scheduled, it'll come up. Other than that, I don't even want to have too much to say about it, because it doesn't do nothing to keep their name alive in the people's minds. And after a while, the weak ones begin to seeing their point. The weak ones begin to seeing the things that they remember of them that might have been or appeared to be something good or some pleasant memory and all that. So I don't even go into that. But since this did break on the exact night that this subject was being taught, we thought it would be a good idea to show it to you. So, brothers and sisters, we ask all of you to, every Muslim should sell 10 tickets. They're $2 a piece. That's not hard to do between now and the 15th of December. In fact, you actually are catching the people in the Christmas spirit. That's right. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with catching them like they're going to throw that money away. They're going to give it to the devil for nothing. So let us try and get some of it siphoned off from the devil so that it can be used for black. Whenever we use it, you know what it's being used for. It's being used to further our people's interests and not the devil's interests. So if any of it we can shortstop before it gets to the devil, you're not only doing the nation a favor, you're doing them a favor. Anybody you can get to buy one of these tickets, you're doing them a favor. Because that's $2 that the devil is not going to snatch out of their pocket for some foolishness. Either some toy to make them worship white folks, or else, make their children worship white folks, or either some whiskey to mess up their head so that they'll keep on worshiping white folks. You're helping them. If you can get any of the money that they were going to spend with the devil, if you can get it spent toward black, then you're helping them. So you catch them at a good time. You got up to December the 15th, and that's when they're doing the most of their buying within the next couple of weeks, and actually the next 3 weeks from now till Christmas, they'll be buying. So this is the time to catch them. You catch them before the devil catch them, because when he catch them, he don't leave nothing. You got to beat him to the draw, because he cleans them, and they come out grinning. They come out happy. And he really picks their bones. So you have to get to them first. So with that, brothers and sisters, we'd like to know if there are any visitors with us who have never been to Muhammad's Mosque before. Anyone here for the first time? We see the hands of anyone here for their first time? Very good. All praises due to Allah. Well, I hope that what was taught here tonight will not in any way discourage you or make you think that there's just nowhere for you to turn. That looks like everywhere you turn that there are always some rotten characters that are mixed up in it. But this is the way it has to be in a wicked civilization. And this is why if it were not like this, then it wouldn't be necessary for God to raise up a messenger to take a people completely out of this civilization in order to clean them up. We will never be rid of these rotten characters until we can get separated from the father of them, the creator of them, the one who is responsible, the one that they love so much that they have adopted his ways, and his ways have become a part of them so much until they can't get rid of the ways until they get away from him. And so for this reason, we will have these problems, and we wouldn't lie to you, because we would be hypocrites then, to lie to you and tell you that all you have to do is just come into the Nation of Islam, and there you'll find a paradise already established where everybody is always so loving and perfect, and everything is just peaches and cream. No, it's not like that. But when you accept Islam and follow the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, you get with the only people today that you find anywhere in America who are honestly, 100% trying to establish a kingdom that is like that, that is a paradise, where everyone is loving to one another all the time, not most of the time or some of the time, but all of the time, where there's never an evil thought that runs through anyone's mind about the other, where there's nothing but love and unity and harmony. This is what we're establishing, and you have to bear witness, we've already made a start. You can, by just the amount of love and unity that the Muslims show already, you have to admit that this is further than any other group has ever come among black people in the history of America. So that in itself tells you that it's not impossible. What the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is trying to achieve with us and for us is not impossible. We've come this far, we can go further. And you can come and follow the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and come as far as we have come and help us to go further. This is what we're saying. In other words, you don't come to say, well, here I am in heaven, but you come and say, all right, which part of the gospel plow can I hold on to? Which one, which row can I chop the weeds out of? Which row can I harvest or can I plant? In fact, actually, all you have to do is harvest. We're living in a time now where the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has done all of the planting, all of the weeding and the chopping and all of everything else, the nourishing, all of the watering and so forth, and now the harvest is ripe and the laborers are few. So we have come at the time when there's nothing to do but harvest. That's all he asked us to do today, is to help him get his people together. Allah has already made the truth begin to run so rampant among our people that all of us have heard it. And all of us are beginning to bow to it. All of us are beginning to let it become a part of us. So our job today now is to speed up the getting of our people together. The best way to speed up, number one, we get together. The first thing, we come in, we follow the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, then get others to come along with us. So those of you who have heard the teaching tonight on the hypocrites, you would like to follow this man who is so able to show you truth from falsehood, and who has opposition and will have opposition as long as he's doing this work. But this man who has stood up against all opposition, from the enemy from without and the enemy from within, he has stood and has progressed and has never faltered. This is the type of man that you and I need. It's the type of man that we should have our eye on. And this is who we all who follow the Honorable Elijah Muhammad do. We keep our eyes on him, so that anybody that we see falter or fall along the way, we don't fall, if it be the will of Allah, because we still got our eyes